Morning. My name is Erin McCormick, and I'm one of the education specialists here at the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. Today I'm going to dive a little deeper into your blue recycling bin and discuss what's in there and what happens to it when it gets recycled. But first, let's talk a little bit about what we do here at the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County. Did you know that with 1.4 million people generating an average of 12 pounds of solid waste per day, that we have to manage almost 17 million pounds of solid waste? That's the size of a football field piled 27 feet high with garbage and recyclables. This morning, we are going to look at the contents of the blue recycling bin and see what happens to the various materials once they leave your house. Once they are picked up by a private hauler, they're put into the blue or container side of the truck and taken to a transfer station, where they are put into an SWA tractor trailer full of only containers to be recycled. Once the material arrives at the recovered materials processing facility, they are sorted into different groups and baled together with all items that are the same. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my blue recycling bag. I live in an apartment, so we have these handy blue recycle bags. We also have yellow ones, but we're just going to look at the blue one today. And it has all of my containers in there, so things that had food. So let's take a look and see what I have to be recycled. So I have a metal can. And so when this arrives at our facility, it's in a big, this whole bag of stuff and a whole truckload of stuff gets loaded into a big bay, and it gets put onto conveyor belts. And as it goes through a series of processes, everything gets sorted out. So the first thing that happens are your metal cans. So your steel cans, things that are attracted by a magnet. Those are ferrous metals. So they get pulled out by that giant magnet and put into a bay where they get loaded into a truck, and then that truck will take it to a recycler. We do have another type of metal, that is the aluminum can, and these are very popular. We get lots and lots of these. So these also get separated out by the use of an eddy current system. And the eddy current is static electricity, and we use that because it repels the aluminum itself. So it repels it off the conveyor belt into a bay, and they get baled together into a giant cube and sold to aluminum recyclers. So now we have a lot of things left. And one of the things that we need sorted out are your glass containers. Now it's very important if you have glass jars to take the metal lids off so that the magnets can grab those metal lids as well, so they can be sent with the metal recyclers. So the glass goes over steel rods, and those steel rods break the glass, and then the broken glass pieces are on a conveyor belt, and they get put into a bay where we have a company out in the west coast of Florida, and they take all of our material. There's not a huge market for glass these days, so they take the glass, and we don't charge them. They don't charge us to take it, but they take it, they further sort it by color and recycle it for us. And then we have plastics. So we have a lot of different plastics. I have in here a laundry detergent bottle, I have a milk container, and I have a Gatorade bottle, okay? So these are different plastics, right? They all look different, they feel different. So we have what's called an optical sorter. And the optical sorter is a bunch of lasers that read the density of these plastics and then use a puff of air to send them on the correct conveyor belt so they can be baled together. Because they're different types of plastics with different densities, the different recyclers want to use them for different things. So the way you can tell looking at your plastics if they are, which ones are they, is by looking at the bottom. So at the bottom, there's a number inside of a triangle. So on these two, they're number 2, and this one's a number 1. So all of your water bottles, soda bottles, those types of things are going to be your number 1 plastic. And that's usually our most packed conveyor belt. That's the one that has most of the material because a lot of people are using soda bottles and water bottles and that kind of thing, and they end up getting recycled and sent to the recyclers that are going to turn them into new things. And we're going to talk about those in just a moment. Now, these two are both number 2s, so they're a higher density plastic, but they do feel different, but they're the same type of plastic. It's just their processing. But the biggest difference, we do separate these out. And we separate them because these ones have a dye in them and they're colored. These ones are more natural. They haven't been dyed any colors, and they're also translucent. So they do get separated, and all of the colored ones get baled together, and all of the more natural ones get baled together, and then they get sent to or sold to recyclers, who then turn them into new things. So you might be thinking, well, what about things that don't have a number 1 or number 2? Can I recycle those? And absolutely, you can recycle those. We have what's called a mixed bale that we create out of all of the numbers 3 through 7. So for instance, I'm looking at the bottom of this yogurt cup, and it's a number 6. A lot of yogurt cups are numbers 5 and 6, and those get baled together, and then companies buy those bales for all those different types of plastics that we have. So, all right, this is great. You've now recycled everything. What happens to it? Well, it does get turned into new things. So first of all of these items can be make more of the same. So water bottles can be turned into new water bottles, detergent bottles to new detergent bottles. However, water bottles can also make clothing, because their plastic can be spun into almost a fiber that's almost like cotton. And if you're lucky enough to come on a tour, when we open back up, we do have some samples of that we can show you, and you feel it, and it actually does feel like cotton. We also, the number 2 plastics, the higher density plastics, are really great for building things like our benches. So they make recycled lumber out of them, and you can build benches, fences, and playground equipment. And then that number 5 and 6, they can make new yogurt cups and things like that, but they can also make things like brooms, recycle bins, and the such. So we do have a little activity that goes along with all of this, that if you're interested, if you go to swa.org/education, connected to that will be a couple handouts. And this I'm just showing you are the handouts. These ones are filled in for you. We do have those posted, but I also have blank ones if you're interested in participating and kind of connecting the dots and seeing, what numbers are on the bottoms of the things you have. And then also what it gets turned into. So everything that I talked about is actually on this sheet. So you can look at the key and see what I talked about that they get recycled into, or you could even try it yourself and check your answers as well. So if you participate and you want to take a picture of your work and send that to us, education@swa.org, that would be great. We will be sure to send a prize your way for participating with us. We do appreciate that. But otherwise, I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about recycling and what we do here at the Solid Waste Authority. And so I'll stay for another minute or so. And if you have questions, please send them in to me. If not, if you think of them later, you can email us at education@swa.org. You can also send your pictures if you want to show me some of the numbers, 1s, 2s, 3s. Maybe you have a 5, a 6, or another number. So a couple other questions about plastics that we get a lot of are, what about plastic bags? Well, like the grocery bags. Those get caught in our machinery, so we can't recycle them. However, places like Publix and Target will take them back, so you can take them back there, and then they can recycle them. They send them to specific recyclers for those plastic bags to make new plastic bags. Also, styrofoam is another big one. And styrofoam, you would need a redentifier. And what that does, it takes the styrofoam and it collapses it down back into the plastic, because styrofoam is just plastic with air injected into it. So if we don't have that machinery at our facility, so that's why we can't take that. So if you're not going to take like your styrofoam egg cartons and such back to the store where they collect them, then you can always throw them away where they will be burned and turned into electricity at our renewable energy facilities. So if you don't have any questions, I just would like to invite you tomorrow to come and see our dual language Recycle Right program. You'll get to see all of the places that I talked about as far as how we separate everything. So you'll get to see inside our facility. You'll get to see the two sides, that there's a blue side and a yellow side. And like I said, it's going to be in 2 languages. So it's going to be in English and Spanish. So I invite you all back tomorrow at 11. There is the link. And thank you, Terry. I don't why people understand styrofoam is not recyclable. It's not recyclable for us, you're right. But I think sometimes people put a recycle symbol on it and then people get confused because it is a type of plastic. It's just you need the proper material to recycle it, and the proper equipment, and we don't have that. So thank you for that. And thank you, Shelly. I'm glad you learned a lot. All right, so if you join us tomorrow, we'd love to see you, and we hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you very much.